Rob Montz has made a career debunking false narratives. What if all the narratives we've been told about recent events are completely wrong? Stay tuned to find out.
Well, here we are in the perfectly pleasant city of Kenosha, Wisconsin, walking through the ruins that remain after national obsession. In the summer of 2020, on this block of cracked concrete, a cell phone captures what we've been told is a common occurrence in this country. A black man getting gunned down by a white police officer. The clip instantly goes viral, sparking days of mass protests and nights of violent riots. 3 days after the shooting, a baby-faced teenager comes to Kenosha with an AR-15. His night ends in fatal chaos and the birth of a new viral obsession, a murder trial that's must-watch TV. These twin tragedies were instantly beamed into every cranny of our lives, and yet no one knows what really happened.
In part 2 of our interview with Rob, we discussed the challenges of unveiling the truth to audiences distracted by literally billions of visual stimuli on YouTube and social media. We also discussed some of his other narrative-busting mini-docs, including the 2 that he is especially proud of. The Broken Boys of Kenosha is about 2 different shootings and media narratives in that Midwestern city during the summer of 2020 and the Black Lives Matter protests. Harvard canceled its best black professor. Why? Disproves the allegations surrounding the leading American economist, Roland Fryer. Stay tuned. So mainstream media, I've checked out your site. I've watched some of your docs. There's some great ones on there. I like the Kyle Rittenhouse one about the Broken Boys of Kenosha. I saw the one about Roland Fryer. I mean, so this is not your first documentary, obviously, debunking false narratives and trying to find out what the truth is. I'm going to say as a society, not you, but why are we so bad at digging into the truth? Why are we so bad at connecting the dots? Is it a failure of journalism?
We're broken little primates, man. What do you want me to say? We think in stories. So do I. I'm not even better. There's plenty of truth in my own life that I didn't see because I was telling myself some simple little story.
Right.
I think I want to broaden it out more. It's like legacy corporate media, obviously, I think is pretty deeply politically polluted and tends to be rather intellectually lazy. Not necessarily because the people that are staffing those institutions are bad people, but they operate under a certain set of incentives where when the Palisades fire happens, it's the biggest story in the world. You got to generate something, and you got to generate something that your audience is going to find delicious. And then when the enthusiasm for that topic fades, you got to move on to something else. And there's no direct financial incentive for you to go back to something like that and figure out what actually happened. You've done your job. You've fed your audience their tasty little morsels on social media. Now it's on to the next big story. And the whole premise of why I even got into this maybe 10, 15 years ago was the idea that the tools of media production had become rapidly more sophisticated and also rapidly less expensive. So you could use cameras, editing software, animation software, and produce things that look just as good as anything you'd see on a movie screen, but for a dramatically lower cost. And then at the same time, it's happened even more since then, the tools of distribution, of independent distribution, had grown dramatically more robust, right? That you don't need to have any middlemen anymore to get your stuff out, both the tools of distribution and the ability to market it and get it on eyeballs. Right. And it leads to a situation where like Donald Trump going on the Joe Rogan podcast and getting 60 million views was more impactful on the outcome of the election than 100 Good Morning America appearances, right? So it's obviously changed. The balance that needs to be struck now is you have all this freedom. If you're fortunate enough, like me, that you have the resources to make what you want to make, and you don't have to ask permission for anybody, and you can use these tools to develop an audience, is still retaining some level of intellectual integrity.
Right.
and still trying to hold to the old school journalistic standards of getting the story right and not just following whatever it is going to most delight your audience, while still saying something that's worth their time. And I'm not going to take shots or name any names, but there's plenty of people that are flourishing in this brand new media world that are completely independent operators running highly lucrative media properties that I think have shied away from that integrity.
And how much of this is because you see it with your, potentially with your own YouTube channel. I mean, how much, this is rapidly changing. And how much of it is we're slaves to this algorithm, right? Because how are you getting your stuff in front of the eyeballs?
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. Don't ask me about my new god, right? So I don't have to deal with any Netflix executives giving me notes.
Right.
I don't have to worry about my boss at CBS News telling me you can't say that.
Right.
But I do got to defer to the almighty algorithm. I do. Don't ask me about how to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of our stuff has popped off. But I think if people want to see our stuff before the Palisades documentary comes up, I think the two things that I'm proudest of that are the clearest manifestations of what is in my heart for what I want to make, even though they're both flawed and limited, and I would change a bunch of things if I could go back, is the one about this covertly canceled professor by the name of Roland Fryer at Harvard University.
I watched that.
The way that it was sold is that he was guilty of sexual malpractice at his lab at Harvard. And we essentially definitively proved that it wasn't that at all. It was ideological retribution because he refused to play by the rules that are unofficially enforced on prominent black academics at Harvard. Right. But then the second one is that one about Kenosha, which your audience might not remember, is maybe a month or two after George Floyd. There's another hyper-viral unarmed black man police shooting in this bedroom community of Kenosha, Wisconsin. And it generated two viral moments. One was the footage of this guy, Jacob Blake, being shot by a police officer. And that proceeded to be hyper-politicized and scandalously misrepresented by the left-wing media. And 3 days after he's shot, Kenosha's flooded with protesters. I'm sure your audience remembers the summer of 2020 well. Flooded with protesters who've come to tear down the edifice of institutional racism in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And on that third night is when a 16-year-old kid grabs a AR-15, goes to Kenosha to try to defend some private property and ends up killing a couple people. That guy's name is Kyle Rittenhouse. And he proceeds to be lionized and fetishized by the right-wing media as an example of the nobility of the Second Amendment.
Right.
As a freedom fighter in his own right. And what the doc tries to do is say both of those pat viral explanations of those shootings missed a deeper, more important cross-partisan story that I will not spoil. And the docs that are the most fun and intellectually interesting to make are to take stuff like that people think they understand and then around the halfway point flip it on its head and say, you have no idea what this was. You don't get it at all. And here's the deeper thing you didn't see. That documentary has a very long watch time on YouTube. I think it actually has the longest watch time of anything we've ever made in terms of getting people to stick around to watch something when there's infinite terabytes of other entertainment flying at their face every moment when they're on the internet.
Right.
Has done very well, but it kind of maxed out at maybe it's definitely less than 100,000 views across all platforms, in large part because a couple of days after it was released, it got slapped with a adult advisory warning by YouTube, and in order to watch it, you've got to sign in and prove that you're 18 years old. And that, of course, is devastating when it comes to getting something algorithmic love. And in our position as a bunch of little rebels in Richmond, we can appeal to the Google gods, we can ask for forgiveness, we can make modifications, we can do whatever they ask of us in order to get this age restriction removed, and it didn't work. And so it's kind of flatlined in terms of view count. People do occasionally newly discover it, which of course is satisfying, but it didn't get nearly the penetration that I wanted it to, or that I think that it deserves. So what your audience should take away is that I am a supplicant slave to the YouTube algorithm, and I don't necessarily understand it at all. And we're trying to use it to our advantage to build audience and get views, while also not compromising creatively or intellectually. And it's still an open question as to whether or not we're going to succeed at that.
Well, that's what I'm telling everyone, is that if you make good content, and if you make good content that people want to see, and I would add to that what I think you're also getting at is being intellectually honest. There should be an audience. There is an audience out there. It's just, it's, as you say, it's more and more difficult to maybe reach, those people. And I agree with you. I don't think it should be. I think people like yourself and others are doing reasonably well. All that said, and so obviously, there is a way, and I think there's too many. My own kids tell me there's kids in their high school who basically say they want to grow up to be influencers and YouTube personalities.
Yeah. I've realized very deeply. I'm 42. I'm going through all the caricatured processes of self-reflection and recognizing both my own limits and also my true preferences.
Yeah.
I 100% do not want to be an influencer. Under no circumstances are you going to see shorts every day where I'm taking some predictable position with some hard, predictable partisan edge on the hot news of the day.
Right.
I don't care what my position is on Ukraine. I don't particularly care what my position is on Israel or the debt ceiling or the latest shooting, latest mass shooting. I don't care. The stuff that I like to make is things that I can spend enough time with that I can actually know what I'm talking about, and then package it in a way that I find artistically compelling and creative. So at the very least, I do know that what we're doing is unique. People have asked me who my heroes are, who I take inspiration from, and the people that I look to as my lodestars, none of them make documentaries. It's not who I feel inspired by. There's no working documentarians that I'm like, damn, that dude's really on it.
Right.
So I try to draw we're certainly not making the same thing everybody else is. And then it's up to the market to decide if there's a sufficiently large audience for us to keep doing what we're doing.
Okay. I think we're coming close to the end of our time together, unfortunately, Rob. Yeah. But I believe you already said you've got greenlit to do a follow-up on the Palisades doc. Is that what's next for you?
We got a dozen projects in the hamper. Oh, well. So a lot of stuff is coming, but that's certainly what I'm most excited about.
Okay. Well, a big thanks for coming on. Really appreciate and really have enjoyed chatting with you. Just remind our listeners and viewers, we're talking with Rob Montz, the director of Paradise Abandoned, which reveals the truth behind the Palisades fire. Do check it out, and other docs on Rob Montz's YouTube channel. Definitely worth your while. I highly recommend the Kenosha one. I watched that one, and I won't say anything else except I thought I knew it pretty well, but you connected dots and brought out a key element of the story that I don't recall anyone else mentioning. And I think it is the story that or lesson that people should take out of that. So do check it out. That's all I'll say. So again, thanks for coming on, and maybe we can have you on again sometime.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, just remind everyone else, please like the episode and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to ring the bell to be notified of future episodes. Thanks for listening to Factual America.